This is my first time using Riverside to go live, so I'm always nervous that it's not going to work, but today I'm especially nervous it's not going to work. But it looks like I see myself on YouTube, which is great. And we got 10 people watching here, which is even more excellent. So exciting to see people here. If you would, just drop a comment down in the chat there. Make sure you can hear me okay. You can see my screen. You should be seeing WordPress. It looks like it's got me kind of hidden behind a logo, which is strange. Let's see if that does any better. Thank you, Adam. I'm glad you can see and hear me. So they give me a whole bunch of windows here. I think it's okay. Sweet. Looks like it's working. Awesome. So what are we going to do today? So I'm going to pop open in Figma here. I designed this website. It was originally designed for the GeneratePress site library. And I've not done anything with it. So the first two I did for the site library, which are up now and you can get to, GeneratePress, GenerateBlocks, people themselves actually built it all out. And if I'm honest, I don't love the way it's built. I probably wouldn't use it exactly the way it's built. So when I had this last one hanging out here, I'm like, I don't really know if I want to give that to them and have them build it out. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but since it was already a design ready to go, I thought it would make a good test for me. So here recently, pretty much every year or every big major update with GeneratePress or GenerateBlocks, I'll go back through my child theme and make some tweaks to it and update it. So I've done that again this year, especially with the new GenerateBlocks 2.0 release, just to make sure that everything's up to date. And I did have to change quite a few things that worked before in the old version and don't work in it now. So I need to actually go through a build and see how well it's working before I actually, put this into production on a client site. So I thought this little project would make for a good test just to see how everything works. I'm not expecting much craziness. I guess we'll go through this child theme first just so you can get an idea of what's in it. I think my previous child theme had a couple hundred lines of CSS, and I've really just pared that back as much as possible because we can do so much with the global styles now. And we've gotten a whole bunch of controls that we didn't have before, so I was able to take care of those. There's a few like little utility type things that I can't do inside GenerateBlocks, so I've put them here inside a little overrides.css file. So one of those is the site header. The site header in GeneratePress puts the padding on the inner container instead of the outer container, and that drives me crazy. So I've changed that in here. In fact, I don't see the getting rid of the inner container padding, so we'll have to check on that. I don't know if I even have a header going on here. I don't. Well, I got this up here. Let's check and see. So yeah, today's stream is going to be very chill. I'm going to try look inside header 0 padding. So I think we're good. I think that's just set in the customizer. But yeah, I'm just going to try to go through and do some building here. Y'all can hang out, ask questions. I do have the chat pulled up here so I can answer questions if there's any questions here, but this isn't going to be like a step-by-step tutorial on anything. It's basically going to be you watching me put together this page and me talk out loud. So hopefully you'll get to learn a couple things in that process. So a couple other little things in that CSS file, setting text wrap to balance on all my H1s through H6s, as well as giving me a little balance utility class should I need it. I've heard that setting this on all of your headings might not be great for performance because the browser is having to do all that computing every time. So I don't know. We'll test and see that. I can't imagine it's too taxing, but something to keep in mind. Kind of same deal here, using text wrap pretty on all my paragraphs, divs, block quotes, and line items. That would fall into the same thing. I don't know if it's going to be taxing or not, but I've done it. Then here we have a little declaration for any paragraph that's the last child and the last thing in that container, getting rid of the bottom margin on it. If I want to limit line lengths, so sometimes in cards, I'll only want like 2 lines of text or 3 lines of text. So some little utility classes for that and a utility class for visually hidden. I also got some overrides here in my functions.php file, bringing in the styles for my child theme, limiting the post editor width in the posts, which I can show you when we create some posts. Removing all the comments, removing default core block patterns, removing attachment pages. What's up, Greg? Good to see you. Jake, Adam, good to see y'all. Removing post formats. I don't even know if those are still in there. I'd have to take that out and see if they come back. Getting rid of all my dashboard widgets. Hiding the admin menu for non-admins. My clients get confused by that, so I just take it out. Removing the archive title, the search title. I do those kind of manually. Adding a little log here for the last login time. Let's see. Some tweaks to the login page. And yeah, I think that's it. And then I have a style sheet here where all my finalized CSS will live. Right now, we'll probably, if we do have to write any CSS, we'll probably just write it in the customizer and then add it in here when we're done. Since this isn't going to be a live site or anything, I'm not too worried about that. As far as plugins, tried to pare that back as much as I could as well. Active Campaign, this is my Postmark plugin just for transactional emails. You can put that in your starter site and it will automatically be connected when you clone it. So that way I know my emails are working right away. Block visibility, I use it on every freaking site. So I've just baked it in here. GenerateBlocks, GenerateBlocks Pro, GeneratePress Premium, Perf Matters. I want to come back to that because I actually worked with Brian. I'd say worked with him. Brian was kind enough to go through and make kind of like a default settings for Perf Matters for GeneratePress, GenerateBlock sites, which I can just import in here, which is pretty cool. Short Pixel Image Optimizer, SVG Images, and then WS Form Pro. So pretty light on all that. So let's take a look at what we're actually going to build. So this is supposed to be kind of like a digital agency website, dark theme, obviously. I've got some, like all the headings are lowercase, which is interesting, visually. We got this cool little Bento grid here, which we're going to do a CSS grid. We have some cards here that have some animations on hover. So this is what the cards look like normally. Then when you hover over them, you get the description down here as well as an icon that comes in. So we'll have to play around with how we want to get that to work. We have a little testimonial section that overlaps a background into our latest articles, and these latest articles kind of flip-flop back and forth with the image on the left, image on the right, so we'll have to play around with that. And then a pretty simple call to action and footer down here. So I say we just jump in and get started here. I left the link in the video description for this page if you want to pull it up. I'm not going to be able to keep it on my screen and WordPress on my screen at the same time. It just takes up too much real estate. So I'm going to actually have Figma open over here on another screen so I can grab stuff from it. But if I need to explain something, I'll pull it in and we'll look at it. So I think where I usually dive in first is just getting here into the customizer and starting to set up all my colors and typography and all that. All right, so dark theme. I guess I'll pull open Figma here. I do have some colors already set up in my local variables here. So base 0, 400, 600, 900, 950, and brand 500. So not very many colors in this. My child theme actually has a whole lot more colors. So I think we're just going to pare down that list and use exactly what we have in my Figma file. And if we have to change that in the future, we can. So we need a base 0. Don't need a 50. Don't need a 100. What's this? 200, don't need it. 300, don't need it. 400, we need that, which is going to be A1, A1, AA. Is that right? That does not look right. A1, I'm going to copy and paste. There we go. Don't need 500. Let's see, 600 here. Copy and paste that as well. 700 don't need. 800 don't need. 900. And we also need a 950. We don't need a 1000. We need our brand color here. So this is our primary brand color. I'm going to need an alternate brand color as well for things like hovering. So I think we'll keep that alt, but I don't need the secondary color for this design. So we'll just go ahead and get rid of that. Let's see here. Actually, we'll just pull open Figma here and come up with a color for hover. So a lot of times when I just need like a shade of this color, I'll just go in here and set the hex value for this, but then change this to HSL. And then I can decide whether I want it to get lighter or darker. I think since everything's kind of on a dark background, this is already 100% brightness, so I guess we'll have to go down in color here. Might be helpful to see them side by side. Oh, that's opacity. Never mind. So that's the original color, I think. So we can just take our HSL and our lightness here. I think we can just go brighter with it. And maybe that's our hover color. So we'll at least start with that. All right, so those are all of our swatches. Our background is going to be the 950. Our text is going to be the 400. Links, those are already set. I'm not going to be doing a top bar. Header, we'll just do it transparent. The links, those are going to be gray. Make them white on hover. Site title, we're not worried about. Tagline, we're not worried about. Navigation background, we'll go transparent. Text. I don't know if we'll get to the mobile menu or not. I don't know how far we'll get. Yeah, if y'all have any questions, just dump them in the chat and I will try to get to them. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of blow through most of this. Buttons, we'll probably do all of that with classes, but let's just go ahead and get something in here. Probably going to have to go with dark colors on here. Trying to see what buttons I might have. The buttons are like outline buttons. Not all of them, but yes, definitely dark text. All right, I think that's good enough on the colors here. Typography. So we got a couple fonts in here. We have all of our headlines and our body. All the headline fonts are Roboto Mono, and the body is Roboto Condensed. So let's see, we can just go ahead and go into our font manager here and just delete these ones out. And we're going to do Roboto Mono. And let's see, weight? Regular, 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 regular. Man, 400 looks really, really thin. I might go with just 500. All right, and then Roboto Condensed. 400 looks good on that. I'm guessing we'll need some kind of bold, so I'll keep a 700 in there for our bold. And I'll put our italics in there just so they don't look too funky if we do italicize any text there. All right, so that should have added both of those. Go back in and set these up. I'm going to get rid of that. We'll say on our body, we want to do Roboto Condensed. We'll do this 1.125 rim, which is kind of where I typically start out. That's 18 pixel equivalent. And then headings, all headings. That's going to be our mono. I know we want our text transform to be lowercase on all of our headings, so that'll just force that. And sizes, we're going to set up with my calculator. All right, so 18 pixels. Let's see. Our biggest headline here goes from 64 pixels. All right, so 64 divided by 16, that's 4 rem. So that puts us pretty close on this scale. So I'll probably just start with this scale. I'll go ahead and copy all this. I think we're good. Let's just set all of our font settings here in the customizer. This is definitely something I would put in the child theme eventually, but for now I think in the customizer will work fine. All right, so that takes care of that. Anything else we need to take care of? Oh, logo. So I didn't upload any of the files, but I did go ahead and set them all up in here just so you didn't have to watch me export things out of Figma. So we'll put our logo in there. Start it out at maybe 80 looks good. No tagline, no title. I don't think I set up a favicon. I didn't. So we'll skip it for now. All right, layout. We're going to do most of that elsewhere. Let's see, container width. How wide is our container? So this looks like it's going to be basically our default one here. 1429. What the hell did I do on this? It's kind of a weird site because it's got so many different widths in it. 1429. We'll play with that. I think I'll just leave it at 1280 for now. We can use classes to create some different container widths for everything. So I think that will be okay. We definitely need to set some padding on the header here on mobile. Oh, that's content padding, not heading. Leave it content. We need header, mobile, maybe 8. I also think this one has a full width header. So good on that. Navigation. We're going to have to change the font for that for sure. We'll come back. Let's see. I'm just going to go ahead and create a menu from here just so we have it. Primary. And we'll add items. So pages, services, about, blog, contact. And this contact one is actually going to be a button. So let's give it a class. BTN header. All right, we'll go back into our typography and get that typography set up. So this is going to be for our primary menu. Mono. Lowercase. Sweet. Size. 1 rem. I think that works fine. Cool. All right, I think that's enough to get us at least started with building something so we can do something a little bit more interesting. All right, all pages, we need a home page. Home, cannot see anything. It's the thing when you do like a dark mode site like this, a lot of times I will like reverse my color palette. So instead of 0 being the lightest and 1000 being the darkest, I'll flip-flop that around. So this still all lines up, but I didn't do that this time. So I think that kind of screwed me up. All right, so let's see here. We have a big hero section, an H1, a subheadline, and then this grid here. All right, so we'll just start. We'll add a container. This is going to be a section. And in it, we're going to need 2 inner containers. One is going to be for our headline and the other is going to be for our grid. So I have some default classes already set up here for our sections for all the padding. All that has in it is the padding. In fact, if I go add that here, and we go into our spacing, I just got some clamp functions set up for all of our padding. Now this one's a little bit funky because it has a bunch of top padding up here and less on the bottom. So since this is kind of a one-off, I might just override it here. And what if we went with like 10 rim? Nope. I'm just eyeballing. I'm not worried about it being exactly perfect. I really want to see just how this site works more than anything. All right, so headline, this is going to be our H1. Center align that. And I'm going to copy and paste text so you don't have to watch me type. And our font is not rendering. Why is our font not rendering? Sometimes I'll set this to inline embedding for the CSS and GenerateBlocks, especially when I'm developing. Sometimes that fixes some of the issues where it's not, you know, grabbed all that CSS. All headings, Roboto Mono. Why are you doing that to me? Fine on the front end. Sometimes I have this problem with InstaWP. There we go. Just caching. Sweet. Hey Elijah, what's going on? We gave away a copy of PyCalendar today. I appreciate you for that. We had a Barfly member win a copy of PyCalendar, which is super exciting. I appreciate y'all's donation to that. All right, websites, SEO, paid ads. This is kind of like a little subheading here. I don't think this, yeah, I do. I'm looking over here at Figma. I do use this same kind of style for these subheadings, and I labeled this body alt large. So let's just create a class for this. We'll change it to a GenerateBlocks text block, body alt large. Actually, we need to do a body alt class. We'll go in here and change the font family to Roboto Mono and the text transform to lowercase. And then we'll add body alt large for the size. And that was 24 pixels. I'm terrible at converting. 24 divided by 16, 1.5 rem. I do talk to myself some, but not as much as I'm talking to myself right now. Usually it's like the internal monologue. All right, so in this layout, this little headline is not centered, and it's not really on any kind of grid. It's just pushed to the side. So I don't want to do that. I think about mobile too. I wonder if I did like just a percentage, 20%. That just moves it over some. Looks funky on mobile for sure. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. I don't think that works. Close enough anyways. I can't see this font size. The font weight is so much thicker than I thought it was going to be. So I think we want to go fix that too. Font library, Roboto Mono. Mono. Let's do 400, which is what I said in the very first place. Save. think it should default to the right weight now. Still looks thick, but it could be caching. Yeah, there we go. That looks better. All right, so now for our little Bento grid. Let's get the width, first of all. We don't want it to be constrained. I'm not going to worry. I'm going to have to do a class on this. So we're just going to call it Home Bento Wrapper. I don't think this is reused anywhere else, so good enough. All right, but we got to take that width off the element level here. That'll make it full width. Now we want to do some spacing on this. Maybe 60 pixels top margin, 80 pixels, somewhere in there. Okay, so we want this to be a grid. We have, I don't think I set this up perfectly in a grid, so we're going to fudge it, but let's say 1 column, 2 columns. This one's wider, so let's say 3, 4, and 5. 5 columns wide and 1, 2, 3 columns tall. I know that's not exact, but that's kind of how I'm seeing it. All right, so we're in our class display grid layout, repeat 5, 1FR, rows, repeat 3, 1FR. Cool. Gap 24 pixels. I wish we could use grid area in here because grid area would make this probably a lot easier, but we'd have to write all the CSS for it. So let's not do that. We'll just kind of manually span all these. All right, we need to get all of our images, which I think is all of these. Yeah, Ivan, I want to test out this child theme a bit on a project before I hand it out because I just want to make sure it's working well before I give it to somebody and then they write me and tell me it broke their entire setup. So that's kind of the point of this, is to test it out a bit. But if everything's good, my plan was to do like a actual video where I spend time thinking all this through and explain it and go through the entire child theme so I can get everybody set up with it if they want it. So that is the plan eventually, but you'll have to be a little patient with me because I just don't want to do it too soon and screw everybody up. All right, so just getting all my images in here first. I'm trying to do them in order, so when I'm spanning all these rows and everything, the editor doesn't always do a great job of rendering it right away. So, all right. This is where we have to think. All right, so the first one, grid column. This is just going to be 1/2. Let's just be explicit with all of them. And grid row, it's going to be 1/4 because it's going to span the entire height. Now, all these images are going to need a class on them, though. So let's say let's say Bento, what do I call it? Home Bento image. And I want them to be 100% height and 100% width. And I think that automatically sets this to object fit cover, but I'm not entirely sure. All right, back to this image. Grid column 1/2, grid row 1/4. Let's just keep going. It's not doing what I expected it to do here, but grid column, this is going to be 2/3 and 1/2. This next one is going to be 1/2 and 2/4. See, it's not moving any of these, and I don't know why. It's moved this one. 1/2, this one, Because it's not 1/2, it's 2/3. See how it's not like rendering perfectly in the back end, which is super annoying. Do you think there is a difference using a class for the images versus targeting the image from the parent class? Yeah, I could use a descendant selector and that would probably work fine. So I don't know. I go back and forth. I know some people rant about using descendant selectors, but in something like this, it's like, I don't, it's a contained component that's not being reused anywhere else. A descendant selector is probably absolutely fine. So I think either one would work. All right, so this one, it's going to be 1, 2, it's going to start on 3, and it's going to go through 4 into 5, and it's going to go 1/4. There we go. That's starting to look like something. That image isn't stretching, but that's okay. All right, this one, we're going to go 5 to 6, and then 1 to 3, and this one 5 to 6 and 3 to 4. Okay, we're closer. We're not quite there. I've obviously screwed something up or the images aren't getting to their full size. All right, image. Where's my class? Bento image. It's not, each one of the images have max heights and widths set on them. So I think this is GeneratePress trying to be, GenerateBlocks trying to be helpful. There we go. It all snapped right into place. Sweet. This looks pretty good. So you can't really tell in this because the background of the site's black, but you can see this bento grid is going almost to the edge. I'm just leaving a little bit of padding on the left and right. Just try to compare that. I think we did pretty good. Image quality looks kind of crappy, but we're close. Close enough for government work. Yeah, I'm with you, Christian. Using the descendant selectors makes sense in a lot of cases, but not in every case. I don't know. I guess I didn't even think about debating which way I wanted to go on that. All right, so I think we're gonna have problems once we get to responsive on all this grid stuff. I think we can get away because these are kind of just like, it's more of a decorative element than anything else. So I think on tablet here, it looks okay, other than I think there's too much of a gap between all these. So let's tighten that up, maybe. And I hate this being off-centered at this point. So we'll just center all of that. But I know once we get down here to mobile, that grid is not going to work. So what I was thinking when I was designing this was, I obviously didn't set up any mobile designs. But what I was thinking is maybe we use like a horizontal scroll. We have all the images be the same, like be the same proportion, and you can just scroll them back and forth. Like I said, they're kind of decoration, so it's probably not even that important. So let's see, if we want to do that, this bento we'd want to change to flex. I'd put them all next to each other. Flex layout, we want it to be a row. We already have a gap set on it. We don't want it to wrap. And where is the overflow stuff? So overflow X, we want it to be scroll. So that'll scroll it. That's cool. Okay, now we need to go to these images. And since we created a class, Let's make the width like, let's do it like 80%. So you can always see another one kind of peeking out over here. And then let's set an aspect ratio, like we'll just start with 16:9, which will make them all the same size here. Let's see what that looks like on the front end. Yeah, I'm kind of cheating, Christian, on the responsive because I don't think the grid just does a great layout. But if we did something like this, where did all my images go? I like this idea of like you can just scroll through the images if you want to, because I'm thinking this is kind of decorative. It'd be portfolio work or something. But I'm losing images in this. So we have our wrapper. Huh. Why are we only seeing 2.5 of our images? I can see all the images in here. Weird. And they're all showing up in here. Auto. Look at that. Just 3 of our images. If anybody has an idea on why that might be happening, I'd be very curious. Do you have 2 rows? I mean, it's not letting me scroll any further, and I put the flex on no wrap. Go back to my class. Wrap. Row, no wrap. So I don't think there are 2 rows in it. It's like some of the images have just disappeared. So we got 1, 2, 3. Now this one. Maybe width versus min width. 80%. These are the fun things to debug. Ah, min width fixed it. Okay, I can't answer why that didn't work, but putting a minimum width on it worked. So yeah, I think that works. It's not the coolest thing in the world, and I kind of gave up on the Bento grid once it gets big, but I think that's a good enough solution. Good enough for who it's for, right, Adam? All right, cool. Next section. Let's name some of this shit. Rename hero. Rename intro. Bento grid. I try to do good about naming stuff like this because it is such a pain in the ass when you come back later and nothing's organized, but I'm not 100% at it. All right, so our next section here, section inner container. Let's take a look at what this one's going to look like. So we have another little intro here and then a 3-column grid of our services. So this is where we got to think about some of these content widths. This is probably like full width here, right? And this is probably kind of our default. Here, that's really close to here. Hard to say. I didn't think about all this as I was designing it, so I think we're going to kind of make it up as we go. All right, so this one we know we want to be smaller, so we're going to say maybe container width, and we'll do this one guess we're going to call this one medium. If we have to change that naming convention later, we can, but all right, so sizing and man, it's so close to just the 1280. It's 1196 in my file. I have 1280 set up as kind of a default in the theme. Maybe I just don't worry about this until we have to worry about it. Let's just get stuff on the page and see what happens. All right, H2RR services. Screws me up having to write in caps but then not seeing capitals. All right, and then a paragraph underneath that, copy that, paragraph. And this, we need to use our class on that we used up there, which was like body alt large. Cool. But we gotta have the body alt on it too. I don't know if I like that. Center everything. This feels way too wide. So I think we do have to fix this. Container width M. Sizing. Like 960 maybe. I know I'm being kind of arbitrary here, but it works. Good enough for me. All right, we need another container in here. Add after, add before, sure. All right, now this one is going to be container width. Let's go with L for large. And we're going to do blank one, sizing 1440, and auto. Cool. All right, this is going to be our services grid. So let's give it a class, services grid. Service grid, services grid. Naming stuff is the worst. I swear when I make tutorials, I'll redo things 10 different times because I can't come up with a name that makes sense for it. All right, grid. Grid layout. I put this inside of my text expander here. So we're going to need 3 containers inside of it. Let's just mock this up. We're going to have 3 containers. Cool. And services grid is going to have a gap. 24. We'll make it match what we did up here. All right, so this is going to be service card. Start blank. Okay, so on this card, we're going to need a border, no border radius. We're going to have it set to flex. We're going to have like a container that holds these images, and or maybe just the image, and then a container that holds all this. Different color on hover. And then we're going to have to show and hide all this stuff. So let's just do it one step at a time. Border, all sides. 900. That's really light. There we go. We want some padding. Maybe start with 24. We'll see where we go. We want this to be flex. We want it to be column. We want it to be space between. Cool. And then we need on hover and focus the background to be slightly lighter. Cool. We need a transition on that. My default is just kind of do 0.25 seconds, ease in out. So that looks good. All right, then inside of that is going to be a container. I'm just going to put this image in a container. I'm not sure that I actually need to, but, and I think I only made one graphic. So we'll just use it on all of them. All right, so that's that. Let's start naming stuff. I'm already getting lost. So this is going to be services. Call this intro. This is going to be our service cards. And then rename service card. Okay. Delete these. We don't need them yet. All right, another container here, and this inside of it is going to have a headline. It's going to be our H3. It's going to say website design and development. Underneath it, we're going to have some text, which is just placeholder. All right. Now, these are pretty tall, so I think we just need to set a minimum height on this. In my Figma file, it is 560 pixels. So we'll go back to our service card. Sizing, minimum height 560. Cool. It looks like this has a bottom margin on it, but I don't think it should because of my little CSS that says if it's the last item, it doesn't have margin. Okay, so just in the editor it does. I have to keep that in mind. Definitely need some space here. Service cards. Let's just go ahead and duplicate this a couple times. All right, cool. I think these headings are way too big. Why are my H3s the same size as my H2s? Did I make it an H3? I did. (2.5 to 3). 2.1 to 2.5. I just don't think that's a big enough jump in between those. Let's see, we could go on here and give it my little FSH4. Man, that looks really good. Okay, I'm just going to add that. This is a little utility class I put in there that just sizes things to other headline sizes, and I think that looks a whole lot better. Search engine optimization, paid placement advertisement. What the hell is going on here? All right. So let's give this a class. This is going to be service card image wrapper. And I don't think we can just, I guess we could just align this. Flex end. And then how big should that image be? It's about right. All right, service card image wrapper, service card image wrapper. Okay, so we don't want this to show up. We want it to be probably opacity 0, because we don't really need to take it out of the document. So let's just say effects, opacity 0. I'm not on the damn class. Effects, opacity 0. Okay, now we'll go to service card image wrapper. I'm just going to copy that so I can go to my service card and I can say on hover. No. I need to create a class or create a selector. And hover and focus and then space and paste in that class. And we're going to say opacity is 100%. So now when we hover over it, the image shows up, which is great. We need a transition. So we'll go back to that image wrapper and put a transition, 0.25 seconds, ease in out. Sweet. That looks great. All right, now the problem is this text down here. So I definitely want to use a GenerateBlocks text block. I'd love to hear how y'all do this when you want to move it down and out of the way and then have it come up. I think I could do this just with transforming it, but I'm going to have to kind of guess at the height, which is a pain in the butt. I could also do the trick where Kevin Powell taught it, where you put this whole wrapper as CSS grid, and then you have this be 0 FR tall, and then when you hover over it, you make it 1 FR tall. I think that's probably the better way to go. I know it's more work though. So service card description. Blank. Make sure that's on all of them. And then service card. What the hell do we call this? Text wrapper? I don't know. I hate naming stuff. Okay, so service card text wrapper, we want it to be layout grid. Grid layout, just 1 FR wide. And grid rows is 1 FR, 1 FR? Is this right? Now I'm trying to remember how the hell I do this. Because I'm going to need to select this text and say that it's 0 FR. So I don't think I need that. All right. So service card description. We need the effects. No. Position. Overflow hidden. And then we need the layout to be, we need it to be 0 FR tall. Grid row. I don't think that's gonna do it. I just did this in a video. Do I want to do this? The question is, do I want y'all to sit here while I go back and try to remember how the hell to do this? So my thought was to make the text 0 FR tall, and then when I hover over the card, make the text 1 FR tall. And I know I've done that on a recent video. Yes, I do go back and look at my own videos. Actually, I think it might be on a video that's not even out yet. I like that we got a bunch of people watching and nobody helping me out. Come on, y'all. Oh my God. This is not when I want to be doing two-factor authentication. All right, so content, I think it's going to be in this one. Okay, grid template columns. I just saw it. Grid template rows 0 FR. So yeah, I should be able to go on here and say this text is grid template rows 0 FR. But why is that not doing it? What else am I missing? Maybe this needs to be set to grid. Display grid 0FR. I might give up on this because this sucks doing live when everybody's staring at you. I feel like you're all behind me right now. All right, so margin bottom. All right, I'm just going to abandon that for now. I know there's a way to do this the right way, and I'm going to do it the wrong way. So let's just go to, we're still on that class. Let's just do the transform trick and we'll call it a day. So effects, we want to transform this, translate on the y-axis, 100. No, because that's not going to move the text above it down. That's not going to work neither. I don't want to magic number the crap out of this, but I might have to. So we could go to the text wrapper and we could go to position, nope, effects, transform, translate it, 100 pixels. I mean, this is just so magic numbery. I hate doing this. Let's get it working and then we'll think about it. All right, so we're going to translate it down 128 pixels, which is totally a magic number. Okay, and we're going to grab this text and we're going to say its opacity is 0. And then we need to remember all these class names. So we have service card, text wrapper, and we have service card description. So we'll go to service card, more, new, hover and focus. All right, so when you hover and focus on it, we need to go to service card double underscore, what did I say it was called? Text wrapper, text wrapper. And we'll go to our transform and we'll say 0. Okay, cool, that moves. And then we need to go to another one, hover and focus, service card double underscore description. And we go to our opacity and we say 100. I spelled something wrong. Service card disc, yeah, I spelled it wrong. Spelling's important too. All right, so service card description, opacity 100%. Okay, cool. So that's working. Now we just need to transition these things. So we have service card text wrapper, transition, 0.25 seconds, ease in out. Okay, and then we have our text description, same thing, transition, 0.25 seconds, ease in out. Let's go check. Well, obviously they're down too far. That's why magic numbers suck ass. All right, so that wrapper, text wrapper, translate. Let's magic number some more. It's pretty close. I think we want to do overflow hidden on these too. Service card. Position, overflow, hidden. You can see that text kind of like leaking out of the bottom of the card, and I just want to get rid of that. Okay, so that's probably where I would go back now and say, we got it working, but let's figure out the right way to do this. And I think that's going to be using grid. So let's see if I can get anybody to answer me besides Adam. Thank you, Adam. And Joel cheering me on. Thank you, Joel. Would you rather see me go back and redo this the right way using grid and making it 0 FRs tall and growing it out? Or would you rather see me move along and start working on the testimonial and the blog parts? Because I got about 59 minutes that I can do this left. And it would probably take us 30 minutes to do fixing this grid. Magic numbers win the lottery. That's true. I'm kind of voting for we just move on because I know I can point y'all to doing this the right way. In fact, Kevin Powell, God, I don't even remember what video it is. Videos. Transition. It was one where you transition the height of stuff. Yeah, Taylor, I can grab that exact height, but I'm still kind of, once it gets smaller and it breaks to 4 lines, then it's a different number, so that's why magic numbering it doesn't do great. I'll come back to this video and put in Kevin Powell's video, a link to Kevin Powell's video, because that's essentially where I stole this grid trick from, where we can animate the grid height. So I'll just make a note of that. I see move along. Let's move along. All right, cool. So what do we got next? What we got next is this section with a testimonial. This should be fairly easy and less taxing, so that would be great. All right. I did notice we didn't put any section padding on this. Section D. Cool. All right, let's add another container, inner container, section D, and make sure this is set to be a section. Okay, so 2-column grid. It looks like it's about 50-50, so that's cool. So we'll call this testimonial grid. Start blank, layout, display, grid template columns. We'll just do 2 columns. This has definitely got a bigger gap between it. And so we need 2 containers, 1, 2. We need an image in this one. Let's do the easy parts first. Let's get some wins. We'll upload that photo. Cool. This guy's name's Christian Taylor. I might have named him after people that are watching this live stream. So copy and paste text. All right. So this is kind of a one-off. It's teal. It's like our action brand color. But other than that, it's not really any different. So I think I'm just going to style this right on the default class and change the color to our brand color. And we'll call that a day. Now this is going to be, our body alt, and it's going to be much, much bigger. So let's do body alt XXL. Cool. And it's like 36 pixels. So 36 divided by 16, 2 rem. 2 rem. All right, easy enough. That looks pretty damn close. We didn't worry about responsive on all this shit either. Notice I'm cussing a lot more on live streams than I do in normal videos. Go back to the services grid. I think let's go with like 320, probably no smaller than that. We probably need to get rid of all those effects on mobile as well, because we don't want them to not be able to see all this content. So some things to do there, but let's keep moving so we can do other fun stuff. But we'll need to go back to this and get rid of all of those opacity zeros and transformations and all that on mobile. In fact, we might want to just set it to be only from like the desktop size up, so they just see these cards naturally, because it's not going to make sense when they're hovering. But anyways, back to this. Probably should have used a clamp for all this, but I think that's fine. Mobile, we definitely want to go with 1 FR. And do we want the picture first or the text first? I'm gonna go with the text first, for no good reason other than I think that's what I want to do. All right, rename this. This is Testimonial. And let's get to the much harder part here. Let's go back into something fun now that I'm not frustrated anymore. All right, another section here. Make it a section. Let's add our section class to it. We're gonna have to go add blog posts to this thing too, because I can't query anything in because I don't have any blog posts. All right, so this one is a little fun because we have a slightly lighter background color here, but it doesn't go all the way to the edge, but it overlaps the thing before it. So because of all those things, I think this is pseudo element territory. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. All right, I just need something in here for now so I have some kind of height. So I'm just gonna go in here and say this is like, I don't know, 1200 pixels tall, just so I have some room. All right, so this is going to be our, it's gonna be our blog section, but it's really only gonna be on the home. So I'm gonna call it home blog container, because naming things sucks. All right, we're gonna set this position to relative, and we're gonna go add a before pseudo element. We'll set its position to absolute. Left we want 0, bottom we want 0, but top we want it to overlap. So let's do like negative 180 pixels. And the right, we don't want it to go all the way to the edge, but it needs to be smaller on mobile than it is on desktop. That makes me think maybe we do something like a percentage, like 20% off the side. We'll just start there. All right, background color so we can actually see what the hell we're doing. Sizing 100%, 100%. Why are we not? Oh, because we need content. More content. There we go. All right, so it's showing up now, but it is going all the way to the edge, because we probably need this to be negative 20%. No? 80 pixels. Why you not do? There we go. Get rid of the 100% there. So this is going to be 20% from the edge. Nope, 20 is way too much. Let's try 5. We'll just start with 5. And then we need to worry about z index of this too. I think we'll just set the z index of this higher. I think that's under position 2. And then also our testimonial position z index 2. That'll put it on top. Let's look and see what we have. That looks pretty good. Sweet. Okay. So we need a couple things in here. So we have kind of like a headline in here that's a H2 that says latest articles. And then we have another container underneath that. I can get rid of all this height now. We have another container underneath that. And it is going to have container width M, because it's going to be smaller. We need this to be margin auto to make it centered. Oh, I never gave this a size. 1024 pixels. That looks pretty good. And then we need some gap in between here, but I don't want to put that on the class because I don't want to do it everywhere. Cool. So what do we say? Let's go ahead and get all of our posts in here so we can just query them. It won't take that long. And it will be mindless for a moment, which will be nice. All right, new posts. I don't have full content for all these posts, but I do have a title. I have the featured image. Cool. And we have categories. So this category is pontificating, because I don't want to have to spell stuff apparently. All right, that's good enough, I think. Add another post. And this one is my other image. And this category is marketing. Another post. And I see I only made 2 posts, so this post is the same as the other post. That's fine though. Pontificating. All right, cool. We have post query now. Go back home. All right, so in here, we're going to do a query. We're going to start blank. Let's think about this. Okay, so every post is going to take up the full width. Inside of that is going to be a grid that has the image and then all the content. And then we want to flip-flop this every other one. All right, so let's do, I have to pop this open. So we got our query, we got our looper. We got our loop item. Okay, so this is going to be our blog looper. Layout. I'm going to do it display grid, even though it's probably totally unnecessary. And then in our loop item, this is going to be our blog. We'll call it card. And our blog card is going to be grid as well. And it looks like the image is a little bit smaller than the text. So we want to go with something maybe like 2FR, 3FR. We'll see. We can play around with that. That looks pretty good, honestly. All right, and we need to give it some gap. So 24 feels too small. We're going to do 40. All right, so in here is going to be an image, and it's going to be dynamic, and it's going to be the featured image. Cool. And I think we want to set this, I'm not going to worry about a class, I don't think, on this, because it's all in a loop, and it probably doesn't matter. But I do want this to be 100% height and 100% width. And I kind of always want it to be square, so I'm going to give it an aspect ratio. And then in this one, we want our blog post title, which is our H3. And we want this to be dynamic post title. And it's way too big, so we're going to use our little font size H4 thing again. I might just want to change our H3 size at this point if I'm having to do that so much. Underneath that, we want some text. And this is going to be the post excerpt. And I don't think I actually set it as the excerpt, so I don't think it will show up. We don't want to read more. It is going to bring it in. Cool. We also need the category. So should the category go, it goes above it, but text, dynamic, we want this to be term list, current post, categories. Cool. All right. So on this sizing, we want the max width to be max content. So it's not too wide. Background color is going to be our brand color. Text color is going to be our dark color here. It's also going to use our other font. So this is Roboto Mono. That's way too big, so 0.875 rem. And then some padding. Top and bottom looks okay, honestly. 0.5 m. I don't know, the bottom's a little shy just because of the descenders. 0.125 m. Oh my God. I mean, that's really freaking close. Go back to our blog card. I don't know why I put classes on some of this and didn't on others. Okay, so center of that, which is cool. We need a bigger gap in between these. So this is our looper gap. Probably something big. 80, 60. 60 is probably good. Cool. Let's worry about, looks good on tablet. Mobile does not look good. So let's go to our loop. No, our looper. And we'll change this to 1FR. Sometimes it wants to do it, and sometimes it does not want to do it. Oh, no, because not on our looper, on our card. This is going to be 1FR. There we go. So we want the image, and then the text, and then the image, and the text. But I don't want this image going all the way to the edge. Like, the image just looks too big. So I think we just go to our image, even maybe our wrapper. Sizing. Max width, maybe we do 75%. I just think not having it the whole width looks better. So yeah, that's cool. All right, so now we need to get them to flip-flop. So we're going to have to use some selector magic here. Let's see, we're just going to want to move this text to the left. So the text is going to need some kind of class. So we'll say blog card text wrapper. I don't know. Copying that, we'll add that here. Cool. We go to our looper. No. We go to our loop item. All right, blog card. Let me think about this. We're gonna have to write a selector here. So blog card and nth of type. And this is going to be even because it's going to be our second one. And then we have to target that blog card text wrapper. Let's see if I got all of that in one try. So we're going to go to our order and we're going to do -1. Boom, we did it. Yay. Okay, so that got it to the right place. But we need to also change the grid template columns. Let me... And that was just on our blog card. So blog card, we create a new one. Say and nth of type even. And before we did 2FR, 3FR, so now we would need 3FR, 2FR. Boom, perfect. Okay, so that should move everything over automatically. That way, if we add more blog posts, they must be z-indexed behind everything. Position, z-index 2. Okay, cool. Nope, it's not working. Why is it not working? It's working in the editor. Block card. Weird. Why is it not working? Working in the editor, not working on the front end. Blog looper. No, it would be my blog card. Nth of type, even. And this has blog card on it. Why would that not work here? Let me know if you guys see something I'm doing obviously wrong on this. Because it works on the back end, works on my machine. Could it be caching somewhere? No. All right, so let's just get rid of these and let's try it again. We could try descendant selectors here. So we could say this is blog card. So blog looper. No, that's not going to really help us. I guess we could try it this way. So we could say blog looper, then int child even. Uh, 3FR, 1FR. I know we got to fix our size here, but let's just see if that actually works on the front end. It does. So I wonder why that wasn't the nth of type wasn't working. All right, so again, we need to do nth child. Damn it, I can't type. Child even. And this was, damn, I know I gave it a class. Blog card text wrapper. Blog card text wrapper. And we do order -1. That got huge and small. What the hell did I do wrong? 3FR, 1FR. It should be 2FR. There we go. All right, now they are rotating back and forth, and I got to get rid of my hello world. That's awesome. But we can see they're working now. Image on the left, image on the right, image on the left, image on the right. So that will just repeat however we need it. But we're going to have to think about that responsively too, because we don't want to do that here. So I probably should have just done this on one of our bigger breakpoints and not on the smaller ones. But I think we can just fix it here. Create template clause 1FR. No. We want to do 1FR. Cool. And we go to this one and we say order 2. Okay, so that should put them all back to how they were before. I probably should have done that backwards where I just wrote all that even and odd stuff for the larger breakpoints, but what are you going to do? Okay, I definitely don't like how this text is poking out of our little background thing, so we need to set a max width on that. And this is all still fucked. Okay, we just need to set a max width on all these cards. So loop item, what did I say? That pseudo element, let's go back and see. We'll try to do this with calculations rather than just making stuff up as we go. So go back to our pseudo element, see what we did. We did 5% on the right. So if we go back to our loop item, the blog card, and we go to mobile, we go to sizing, and we say the max width is a calculation. No, because percent's going to be a pain in the butt. Calc, open and close our parentheses. We're going to do VH. So we'll say 95 VH. So that should line it up perfectly with that little deal. But we also want to bring it off even more. So let's say 24 pixels. Would that work? 95, no, viewport width, not VH. Viewport width minus 24 pixels. Honestly, I don't even think we need to worry about that. We could just say like 90 viewport width or even less, 80. I just want to keep it off the edge of that little background detail. So let's just say 85 VW, 85 VW. Sweet. Amazing. All right, let's get rid of that hello world post because that's annoying. All right, what do we got next? We got 32 minutes. So next is our little call to action and the footer. So let's just dive into that rather than go back to the service cards that are driving me bananas. Because they really are driving me bananas. All right, so I'm going to put that footer call to action in our footer. So I'm just going to create a footer. So new element, a block element. Call this our footer. This is going to be our site footer. Cool. Entire site. All right, so we're going to have a container here, inner container, section D. This is going to be our content with M. We're going to have to get rid of the default one that goes on there. Cool. All right, so this is going to have a big H2 headline, heading, H2 pasted in, and some text underneath it, and a button. We're finally going to have a button on this site. We haven't had any buttons yet. All right, center align all this, cool. And let's add a button, our first button. All right, so this is going to be button primary, I'm guessing, because this is going to be kind of our primary button, but it's giant. So I think we're going to need a modifier to make it way bigger. So let's just make our btn primary. We're going to move all the local block styles. This is a great trick. If you're adding a button and you're going to style it, move all those local block styles to your class, because by default, it's going to have background colors and hover and all this kind of stuff. And if you're trying to fight back and forth with that, it's a pain in the butt. So move it all into class and then you can change it all. All right, so it's going to be the brand color. It's going to have black text. It's going to have a border, a 2-pixel white solid border. Let's just go ahead and put in our text, get started. All right, the font family is going to be our Roboto Mono. It's going to be all lowercase. All right, now we need hover and focus. I think the only thing we're going to change there is this background color and the text color. I'm not liking our alternate brand color here. It's just too light. So I'll have to play with that. That's okay. All right, so there's our button. Now I want to do a button primary large. And we're just going to go to our typography and we're going to say 1.5 rem. Great. And I'm just kind of guessing at sizes here. I'm not being too precious about my design. And I'm just going to put a link in there for now. What else was I thinking? The padding. So button primary, I want to make sure this is all set in M's. See, it's set to rem, so when we get to this big font size, it's not scaling that padding here. So I want to make sure this is all set to M, so it bases it off of the actual text size in the button. That way, if we remove this large, the padding scales too. But I think the proportions of it are okay. 0.8, tighten it a little bit. Good enough for me. All right, sweet. Then we need another container here. And this is going to be our actual footer, which is going to have this image in the background of our text, and it's going to have all of this in here. So how do we want to do this? All right, we're going to do section. This is going to be smaller, probably. Section small. We're going to do a background image. And that's our footer image. All right, and so the size is going to be, cover is good. Background position is going to be top center. So we're seeing the top of it at all times. And the bottom's just kind of cut off. So we're cool on that. We have a little border in here that's throwing me off. So I think I actually want to get rid of that class on there. And I just want to give some padding at the beginning of this, like, I don't know, 80 pixels. It's pretty close. And then let's do a container in here. And this one will actually do the section small. And we're going to put a border on the top. Top border. We'll make it very light. That works. And then we have kind of a 3-column layout here. So it's wider, but it's not all the way full width, but it's wider than anything else on our page. Maybe we go back to whatever we did here, which was our large container. So this is going to be container width L. We can't do it on there because we have that border. So container width L on a little wrapper inside of it. Okay, so this is going to be, do we need a class for this? Probably not, because it's just our footer. It's only being used in one place. Display, grid layout, 1FR, 1FR, 1FR. Stuff like this, I'm a little bit less careful about exactly how I'm going to do the classes and all that because I'm not reusing it anywhere. 3 containers in here. Make sure we have a gap in between them. Probably a pretty decent sized gap. All right, so in this first container, we want an image, media library. It's our logo. Let's make that logo, I don't know, 120 pixels, 100 pixels. And then underneath that is a little list of all of our pages. So how do I want to do that? Let's come back to that. Come back here and we'll grab our copyright notice, which we need to update to 2025. Let's center align that. And then we got a list on the other side too. Okay, so let's think about how we want to do this right. We did this grid. We want to align it to the bottom. Do we actually want to list all these things out? We probably do. So let's do a container. We're going to make our container an unordered list. Inside of it, we're going to have text. This is going to be home, about, services, blog. All of these are going to be list items. All right, but we don't want lists. We want none. We don't want any margin or padding on the left. But I think that actually comes from our list. I never remember where that margin and padding come from. There we go. It's padding on the UL. Cool. All right, so the UL actually needs to be display flex. That'll put them all next to each other. We need to put a gap in between them so we can go to our flex layout. 16, 24. 24 looks good. And then let's give all of these a class. These are going to be footer links because they're going to be a different font. Bento mono. We're going to do 1 rem. We're going to make them all lowercase. They're all actually links here, so let's make them links. Okay, but we want to do footer links, links. And let's do that text color, our light gray. And then hovered links. We want hover and focus. Hovered and focused links. There we go. And we'll do the text color white. So we should be able to hover over those. Cool. Is that it? I can't remember if we had a transition on the links or not. So links, effects, transition, 0.25. I should probably just set up a utility class for my default transition. That would be a good thing to add to my starter site. So I can just add, transition, and it'd be defaulted. All right, cool. So we need to take this list, copy it, and we need to go in this one here and paste it. But in this container, we're going to have everything right aligned. No, we're going to have to do that on the list itself. Layout, flex, alignment, right. And this one just has a phone number, 555, duplicate it, info@nova.io. That's not an actual website I'm using. It's just what's in here. Okay, so our grid, I think this is happening, this not aligning to the bottom because it's giving it the margin here. So let's go see what it does on the front end. These all have margins, so we need to fix that. All of these, spacing, margin bottom 0, these, Sizing, spacing, margin, bottom, 0. Cool. That should take care of that. It doesn't. Our UL has a bottom margin on it. Okay, so our list, margin, sizing, spacing, margin, bottom, make sure those are good. List here. Maybe that fixes it. Cool, that fixes it. I just want some more gap in between those things. So I'm just gonna use margin on this. Spacing, 32. I also want to I want to add more padding at the top of this, or I could add no. We'll just add margin to the top of this. Spacing. $32. That looks much better, but I bet it's going to be crap on mobile. Okay, so we're going to have to fix all that. All right, so tablet. Let's go back to this grid. How do we want to do this? I didn't design anything, so I think I want to do this one, layout. I want to make this order 3, put it at the end. And I want to go to my grid layout, and I want to do span 3. And I want to left align it. Okay, so that'll put it at the end. That's cool. And then on mobile, I think I just want to take this whole grid and we'll do 1FR. No. Grid, 1FR. Why you not do grid? It's not putting... It's not putting all those on their own line. Why is it not doing it? If I change it to flex, it does it. Oh well, good enough. Flex works for me. This one, I think it should be okay. Sweet, we got a footer. I did see some funkiness here. Let's see, iPhone SE. Those cards are still bothering the shit out of me, the service cards. But honestly, other than that, I think we're good. Look at that, 1043. Okay, service cards. I think that's all we got left that's driving me insane. Close out our footer. Go back to our home page. God, I'm tempted to just build these from scratch again. How do I want to do it? Log in. I have all this stuff on all these testing sites. So I did this using that little trick. The grid trick. So this is display grid on the container. and have text inside of it with set to overflow hidden. If I went to this one, the text that's inside of it is set to 0FR. Okay, let's rethink this. Should we just start it from the beginning? Can I do it in 15 minutes? Probably not. Container. I don't even know if anybody's paying attention, so this is going to be container width L. It doesn't need to be inside the other one. I'm going to do wrong. This is going to be service cards. Okay, so let's do this again. I'm going to put it above. Okay, so God, all my classes are going to be screwed too. Call this services grid. I don't think we have a problem with that. I think we're cool there. And then inside of it, we need a card, and this is going to be service card. Honestly, maybe we can just use what we had. Let's just try to rejig what we had. Okay, so we know on the service card, let's just get rid of the mistakes we made. Delete, delete, delete. Okay, and then here we have this, which is set to opacity 0. We're going to do opacity 100. And we also have this service card text wrapper who has the transform on it. Okay, give me 2 seconds. I will be right back, and then we're going to actually get this working. So we have to take a bathroom break, so it is what it is. I don't even know how to take me off the screen, so you'll just have to see my empty chair for a minute. Okay, can't possibly do hover effects when you're about to pee your pants, so sorry about that. All right, so let's see, what do we got here? I guess we could have left our little image. So this was our service card image wrapper. We know that this one's okay, so we can go back on our service card. We can do new one, hovered and focused. Paste that in there, and we say effects, opacity 100%. Okay, so we're cool on that. All right. Okay, we're going to go to this text description. I don't know that I have to put this in a wrapper, but that's what I did on this, is like that text is inside of a wrapper. So I'm going to do it that way just so I make sure I don't screw it up and I can kind of follow this one by one. So it's going to be service card description wrapper. God, these are long. Okay, service card description wrapper. Start with a blank style. Why did it go funky? Oh, because I had... No? Why did it go funky? Did I use that class before? Let's save this, refresh it. We're so close, y'all. Okay. So, boom. Service card, did I just put a wrapper in a wrapper? I did. Okay. service card description wrapper. Cool. All right, we're going to set this to display grid. Grid template rows 0FR. Okay. Now it has no height, but this text is overflowing, right? So I have to go to service card description. I have to go to position, overflow, hidden. Okay, so now it has 0 height on it, which is what we want. Now we have to get that class again, which is this service card description wrapper. I don't want to type it all out, so I'm going to copy it. We're going to go to our service card, and we're going to say new selector, hover and focus. Then we're going to paste in that class, service card description wrapper, and we're going to say layout, grid template rows 1FR. So now when we hover over it, it gets its full size again. Perfect. Okay, got to add a transition. So effects, transition, 0.25, ease in out. Now that is much better. Okay, so now we just got to add that to everything. See, that wasn't that hard, and I was just all screwed up earlier. Description wrapper. Nope. Service card description wrapper. Let's go check it on the front end. I didn't do it on these. Why didn't it do it on those? Service card description wrapper. Oh, did I do the... I wonder if I did the overflow hidden not on the class. So overflow... No, I did it hidden. What did I not do on a class that I should have? Did I not put all the... I didn't do this on the class. So put that back to where it belongs. Go here. You got to put stuff on the class. 0FR. Now we refresh. We get out of the inspector. And look at that. Come on, I need a round of applause or something. Cool. That is much better and solves that problem. We still didn't do it on our big breakpoints only. So we're going to have to reverse engineer it to get rid of it all on tablet and mobile. That's okay. All right, so service card description wrapper, we're going to say it's 1FR all the time. We're going to say our service card description here is 100% all the time. I don't know why this one, do I still have this on? I got something screwy on this one. Default, I still have 0FR. Okay. So now if we go here, cool, those are good. And we just got to go to our wrapper for our image, and we'll say it's 100% opacity. So now on tablet and mobile, we see those all the time, which is excellent. Thank you, Joel. All right, so desktop, boom, we hover. It goes from 0FR tall to 1FR. Perfect, looks great. And if we go into responsive mode and we get in here to our tablet, all those things just show up because we can't hover over them. So perfect. All right, did we forget anything else? Is there, we had this button up here. Man, the only way really to tackle that is to write CSS. I don't think we can really do that in the editor. What class did I give this button? Inspect. I gave it BTN something, right? BTN header. BTN header. Customize. Additional CSS. So BTN header, we're going to do border 1 pixel solid var brand primary, and we can see that it's What do we want to happen when we hover over it? Because I didn't mock any of that up. We also want the text in it to be white, so color, this might not be specific enough. It's not. BTN. All right, I know we got to mess with the sizing here. So layout, primary navigation, menu item height. I'm going to bring that in some, and we got to go with our header, and we do 16. Cool. I mean, honestly, that's kind of fine the way it is, I guess. Let's make it fancier. What should we do with this? All right, so BTN header is hover, comma, focus. And let's do background var neutral 0. Was that my white? But then we would have to do the color var neutral 900. I don't think that's going to be specific enough. Sometimes the menus throw me off because I never know where they've stuck all the styling on this when you set it. Okay, so we have our list item, then we have our A inside of it. So when our list item is hovered, you can ignore that because it's not working, but we go to our A. Like, look at this friggin' selector. Copy that, paste that. We can get rid of that. We can get rid of that. And now if we do our A, which should be inside of it, you'd think that would be specific enough, but it's definitely not. But if we do important, it does work. So we know we're selecting the right thing. How can we improve the specificity of this? Primary menu. Now I'm just kind of fighting specificity at this time. Primary menu. There we go. Okay, probably more elegant ways to do that, but good enough. Make sure transition all 0.25 seconds, ease in, out. So we make sure it matches. Cool, good on that. What do we got? 2 minutes. Oh my God. So a couple things here. We needed to go back to this. These boxes need to link, right? So we need to go on here. How would we want to do this? Because we would need to make these A's in order for them to link somewhere, because this is going to like link to our, web design, right? We don't have that page, but let's pretend we do. Web design. But we don't want any of this text to get underlines and shit. This is so much harder, I think, in the new GenerateBlocks, because now we have to go in and do all the selectors for all this stuff. So if we just said service card links, we don't want any text decoration. That ain't working. Text decoration, none. And then we just need to set a color on this probably. Typography, gray. I don't think that's going to work either. I do get a little bit lost here once we have to set all this to links. It screws crap up. That complicates it, doesn't it? But this has got to be a link if we want this whole container to be a link. So I feel like this is easier with CSS than it is with the editor. So we have, oh man, it's gotten rid of all of our styling here when we made it an A. All right, well, we don't have time to tackle that today. I thought we'd be able to knock that out quickly, but obviously that's a problem. I've screwed something up. Why does this happen? Okay, so what did we learn here today? I don't know if we learned anything. So yeah, no container link settings. So before there was an option just to, like, there was a little button up here to make it a link. But now if you want something to be a link, it needs to be an A. It needs to be an A tag. But whenever I do that, now it's inheriting a bunch of styles everywhere that I don't want. I mean, it'd be easier if this just had like a button inside of it. You know, if I put a button here that said, I don't know, website design services. If I just had BTN primary, cool, get rid of the block styling, cool, go back to our card and layout, alignment, there we go. Getting these in the right order is fun too. I mean, obviously this, we'd have to screw with all this, but it'd be way easier if we just had a button in here. Then we don't have to worry about all that. But when we want to make this whole box a link, it just becomes more complicated. I know I had to fight this in another build, and it was a matter of changing this to an A and then targeting down to all those styles, which is, it's just more work than it used to be because some of this happened automatically. So maybe there's a future video idea. What do you do when you want to make a container a link and you have text inside of it? Because it makes it kind of a pain in the butt. So I'll look into that and see what we can do to come up with an easy solution for reference in the future whenever we run into this problem. What else? The child site, child theme worked pretty good. I think I want to add a transition class, like utility class, so I can just quickly add a class and say transition and it'll do all 0.25 seconds ease in out, because I feel like I did that 100 times. But other than that, I feel like everything worked pretty well. Probably need more of a test than this, more pages and all that before I feel extremely confident. But I think for the most part, it's working pretty well. Yeah, the button idea better. Yeah, the button would make it easier, but it's not as pretty with the design, you know? I mean, if I put the button in here, like inside of this button, we do button primary, web services, get rid of the block styling, this section card wrapper, layout. I don't want this to be so damn big. Why is it so damn big? It's something with that grid in there. So max width, max content. That's not even going to fix it. There, it did. So, yeah. We'd have to play around with that too. I'd really like to get this where just, you know, just the card is the link, but we'd have to fool with all the styling inside. So definitely a new video on that eventually. Anyways, that's my time today. It's 11:04. I need to go get some lunch today. It was definitely good to hang out with all y'all. I would love to know if you think the how the stream looked. I had to upgrade my Riverside package. I've never used Riverside to stream before, but I had to upgrade that package to like a $44 a month plan in order to stream in 1080p, which is more than I'd like to spend considering how little I stream. But if it looks really good and works really well, it'll be worth it. But would love to hear how you thought things looked on this side of things. and what you thought of the stream. I'd do this more often if people want to come hang out and chill. I think we kept quite a few people here the whole time, even though we didn't have lots of interaction. I'm sure everybody's busy getting shit done on a Friday, so that's all good. Anyways, I guess we'll wrap it up there. I'm going to go put some food in my belly and try to get this week wrapped up. So hope everybody has an awesome weekend, and we will talk to you soon. All right. Now I have to figure out how to stop recording. Bye.